What if I told you your whole biography of effort, every drop of sweat, every restless night, every plan you pushed uphill, wasn't the way, but the symptom of a belief that kept you trapped? What if there is a method as old as mountains, whispered by minds that decoded the mechanics of the real, able to bend matter without strain, to accomplish without pushing, to move mountains without feeling their weight in your hands? This is not metaphor or motivational trick. It's a manual for tuning yourself to the fabric of the universe. Laozi called it wu-wei, effortless action. Hermeticists translated it into the language of vibration. Everything moves, everything vibrates. And Thoth, the scribe of the unseen, left clues for anyone ready to step out of the iron cage of struggle for struggle's sake. If that statement stirs you, it's because you know the fatigue of rowing against currents that never yield. You know the sensation of living at war. You push one door and another slams. You memorize productivity scripts and something implodes inside. You swear Spartan discipline and silently your heart asks for air. It isn't a lack of strength. It's misalignment. The universe doesn't reward the loudest voice. It responds to the right frequency. Picture a perfect orchestra. Blasting the wrong note with all your might creates noise. Whispering the right note moves the entire room. The secret was never intensity, it was precision of tuning. That's why wu-wei isn't spiritual laziness or license for elegant inertia. It's a state of presence that catches the hidden rhythm of things and places you exactly where the wave is born. The exhausted swimmer batters the water and gains inches. The surfer reads the tide, waits, aligns, and with one minimal gesture crosses the horizon. Same ocean, opposite destinies. What changes? Your relationship to the flow. Here comes the heresy. The system's rule number 1 says, you must fight. Reality's quiet rule says something else. You must attune. Attune intention, breath, mental posture. Attune emotions until your vibration becomes compatible with the result you wish to manifest. When that happens, the path of least resistance appears as if it had always been there, because it always was. You were taught to confuse surrender with giving up, patience with stagnation, lightness with weakness. True alchemy is the opposite. Dissolve the rigid to free the essential, transmute reactivity into choice, coagulate the new state on the physical plane with minimal, precise acts. The 7 Hermetic principles are not esoteric poetry. They are engineering for consciousness. Mentalism, the all is mind. Shift the inner cause and the outer effect has no option but to follow. Correspondence, as within, so without. Change the climate of your inner world and the seasons outside will move. Vibration. Everything vibrates. Your emotional signature is the most powerful command you issue. Your objection is fair. How do I apply this in daily chaos? The first answer is simple and radical. Stop arguing with red lights. The sage's pause between stimulus and response isn't weakness, it's sovereignty. In that gap, you leave the plane of effects, where everything shoves you, and return to the plane of causes, where you decide. From there, action doesn't rise from anxiety, but from clarity, the minimal move with maximum leverage. The question that disarms, the prototype that tests, the no that protects, the yes that expands. Then comes the hardest art for control-trained minds, letting go. Don't dig up the seed. Water it, trust it, and guard your inner weather so you don't pour acid, doubt, haste, fear over what you planted. Before we go on, make a simple pact with your own intelligence. Abandon the childlike fantasy that everything comes to me while I do nothing, and abandon the whip of only what hurts as value. Neither abdication nor brutality, alignment. When you operate this way, life stops being something that happens to you and becomes something that flows through you. Opportunities cease to be prey and become currents. Obstacles stop being walls and become rocks. The water curves around, day after day, until they turn to sand. If this sparked a quiet recognition, the sense of, I've always known this, I just couldn't say it. Leave one minimal but potent trace. Write flow in the comments. Not to please me, but to stamp out loud the state you choose to inhabit from now on. And if you want to walk with me through the next steps of this journey, where we dismantle false passivity, install your energetic GPS, and train righteous action, subscribe now. Treat it not as a routine click, but as a gesture of agreement. You choose to attune to the current instead of forcing the tide. Breathe. From here on, we no longer push stones uphill. We move mountains because we finally move what rules mountains, the vibration we carry. When you're ready, say next, and we'll open the code, Wu Wei in the light of hermetic vibration. To understand why winning without forcing is more than a pretty phrase, we have to change the instrument we use to read reality. Most of us were trained to see life as a weight room. You lift more, you get more. Hermetic teaching proposes a different lens. The universe is not a warehouse of objects. It is a field of frequencies. Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Thoughts, emotions, bodies, places, conversations, all of it carries a signature, like notes in a vast symphony. When your inner state clashes with the score around you, you can push as hard as you want and still produce only noise. When your inner state tunes to the music of the outcome you seek, the same action that once felt heavy becomes strangely light, improbably effective. This is the misunderstood heart of Wu Wei. It does not mean do nothing, it means act from attunement. Imagine a radio. You can crank the volume to maximum, but if you are a notch off the station, you will amplify static. Turn the dial 1 millimeter and a whisper becomes a clear broadcast. In human terms, shouting motivation at yourself while vibrating doubt amplifies doubt. One small internal adjustment, calm, trust, clarity, makes the next step obvious and the world strangely cooperative. Precision beats intensity. Frequency beats force. Hermeticism gives you the why beneath the poetry. Mentalism states, the all is mind. The physical world is the effect, not the cause. Your nervous system, your attention, your unspoken assumptions are causal levers. Correspondence clarifies the mechanism. As within, so without. Outer resistance mirrors inner friction. Outer flow mirrors inner coherence. Vibration explains the skill. You are constantly broadcasting a felt tone through posture, breath, micro-tension, story, and expectation. And life answers that tone with matching scenes, partners, and probabilities. You are not begging reality to change. You are tuning the request it has already been programmed to obey. But I do act, you might say, and it still feels like wading through cement. That's the point. Action from dissonance creates more dissonance. You negotiate while carrying fear and meet partners who confirm it. You pitch while vibrating scarcity and magnetize almosts that waste your time. You plan while seething with hurry and step into timing that's off by a day or a decade. The mind then concludes, try harder, doubling the noise. What Wu Wei prescribes is ruthless honesty about your starting frequency. If your stomach is tight, your jaw is set, your thoughts loop, that is not a moral failure. It's feedback from your inner tuner. You're a notch off. Change the station first. Then touch the world. How do you change the station without drifting into passivity? Start with the levers. No school taught you to respect because they looked too small. Breath. Shallow breathing broadcasts alarm. 1 minute of slow, even breaths broadcasts safety and opens the prefrontal cortex that sees options. Posture. A collapsed chest signals defeat. An elongated spine with soft shoulders signals dignity without aggression. Language. I must force this. Seeds more forcing. I choose the next clean step seeds agency and timing. Attention. Obsessing over what's missing amplifies lack. Noticing what's already working amplifies pathways you can actually walk. These levers are not superstition. They are dials on your transmitter. When they shift, people answer differently, ideas arrange themselves, and opportunities that were invisible become ordinary. But where does effort go? It doesn't vanish, it refines. In Wu Wei, effort moves from pushing outcomes to maintaining alignment. You still write the email, train the skill, make the call. Only now the action is carried by a current rather than dragged by a rope. The paradox is simple. When you stop forcing, your effectiveness spikes and your exhaustion plummets. What looked like luck is often just coherence meeting timing. 2 warnings keep this code clean. First, Wu Wei is not spiritualized avoidance. Waiting for the universe to deliver while you refuse every uncomfortable conversation is stagnation, not flow. Second, the point is not to feel perfect before acting. The point is to feel coherent enough to act from center. A violin doesn't need laboratory-level tuning to play beautifully. It needs to be close. Then it self-corrects as it plays. So do you. Here is the crux, stated plainly. You don't get the life you want by overpowering reality. You get it by resonating with it. Attune the inner cause, state. Let the outer effect rearrange, scene, And let action be the bridge, minimal, precise, timely. From here, the rest of this journey becomes practical. How to avoid the counterfeit of doing nothing, how to read the energetic weather of any moment, how to deliver the smallest move with the largest leverage, and how to release your grip without abandoning your aim. When you can feel that, you've stopped pushing the rock. You've started moving the mountain. If Wu Wei is the art of acting from alignment, its most seductive counterfeit is doing nothing and giving that nothing a spiritual name. This confusion ruins more destinies than honest fatigue ever did, because the word effortless whispers to the tired mind, rest forever, when what it truly means is, move like water, only where and when it matters. False. Passivity is the ego's clever disguise. It trades the whip of overforcing for the pillow of avoidance and calls both wisdom. In truth, one burns you out. The other rusts you out. Neither lets you become the instrument you were built to be. To see the trap, we must distinguish the fertile void from the swamp. In alchemy, the negredo, the dark night, dissolves rigid forms to make room for the new. It is active emptiness. You face what hurts, you name what binds, you let the old structure fall so a living one can arise. The swamp is different. It is comfort disguised as depth. You postpone the difficult conversation until the relationship starves. You wait for a sign while the window closes. You meditate to escape choices instead of sharpening them. On the surface, both look still. Inside, one is compost, the other is rot. Hermetic mentalism clarifies why the swamp punishes. The all is mind. Reality mirrors the dominant pattern you consent to. Lazy passivity is consent to drift. It broadcasts abdication. I won't choose, I won't risk, I won't feel. And life obliges with stagnation, missed timings, and opportunities that arrive thin and leave quickly. True Wu Wei broadcasts something very different, readiness. It is the alert stillness of a hawk on a branch, eyes soft but unblinking, breathing slow, attention wide, muscles available. No grasping, no slumping. A posture that says, if the opening comes, I move. If it doesn't, I conserve. That is non-resistance without surrender, softness without collapse. The mind's default against uncertainty is controller mode. Schedule everything. Micromanage everyone, rehearse every sentence, and bind the future with tight knots of anxiety. The sabotage is immediate. You generate resistance in others, friction in events, and static in your own nervous system. When controller mode fails, the ego often swings to the opposite pole, spectator mode, and calls it spiritual. It will all sort itself out, code for, I won't meet this moment. Neither pole holds power. The middle way is sensitive observer mode, a sober, embodied presence that watches the field without numbing and moves when the signal is clean. Sensitive observation is not passive, it is discerning. You track your inner weather, breath, jaw, chest, thought loops, not to obsess, but to read whether your transmitter is broadcasting coherence or noise. You study the outer field, timing, tone, body language, small doors that click, without forcing your preferred story onto facts. You practice the sage's pause to step off the conveyor belt of reactivity and back onto the causal plane. There you ask the question controller mode never asks, what is the least I need to do for the most honest shift? The answer is often unglamorous and immediate. Make the call. Send the single clear message. Say no, apologize once. Prototype the smallest version. Take the quiet walk that unknots the thought. Minimal action, maximal leverage. But if I wait, won't life pass me by? Only if your waiting is a nap. Waiting in Wu Wei is athletic. You tend your instrument. You sleep to repair, not to hide. You train your craft precisely because you won't be pushing. You'll need skill to ride the wave you didn't create. You keep your space ordered so opportunity has room to land. You prune distractions so attention can widen without leaking. This is the opposite of sloth. It is stewardship of energy and attention. So that when the green light flashes, you are already moving before the mind can sabotage the moment with second thoughts, another hallmark of false. Passivity is outsourcing responsibility to omens, demanding the universe write your email for you, pick your partner, and deliver your courage. Alignment never removes responsibility. It refines it. The hermetic principle of correspondence, as within so without, does not mean the outer will do your inner work for you. It means your inner work will remove needless outer work and spotlight the next honest step. You still take it. You do it from center. The result is not guaranteed to look like your fantasy. It is guaranteed to teach you quickly and cleanly what the field is ready to support now. Notice too how false passivity breeds self-deception. You tell yourself you're letting go, but you are actually avoiding. Litmus tests help. After letting go, do you feel clearer, kinder, and more available to the next step, or duller, pricklier, and less available to anything? After a week of flow, has something small and real moved, or have you accumulated elegant reasons for why nothing has? The body is ruthless here. If your shoulders are chronically tight, your breath high, your sleep shallow, your version of non-action is costing you. If your face softens, your exhale lengthens. Your mornings feel wider. You're likely in the fertile void, not the swamp. In practice, banish the phrase, "I'm waiting for the perfect moment." Replace it with, "I'm listening for the clean moment." Clean means the inner signal is steady and the outer door is at least ajar. Until then, prepare. When both align, move once, precisely. Then release the grip you reflexively reach for, checking, poking, proving, so the seed you planted can germinate in the dark. This is the cadence we'll deepen next, reading reality's lights, pausing without losing momentum, delivering the smallest sufficient action, and trusting the coagulation you cannot micromanage. The danger of false passivity is simple. It steals the dignity of your agency while flattering your spirituality. Refuse the flattery. Choose the dignity. Stand like the hawk, breathe like the tide, move like a surgeon. No forcing, no hiding. Presence that listens, action that counts, surrender that trusts. From here, Wu Wei stops being a slogan and becomes a way of moving through a noisy world with unreasonable grace. Picture two people at the same ocean's edge. One throws himself in and declares war. He kicks, he punches, he gulps salt, and for every inch he wins, he pays with exhaustion and fear. The other stands and watches. He studies the sets, the interval between swells, the pull of the rip. He paddles not to fight the sea, but to meet a wave where it already wants to carry him. When the lip rises, he commits with one clean stroke, one small adjustment of weight, and suddenly the same force that drowned the first man is a conveyor belt under his feet. This is not luck. It is literacy. Wu Wei is ocean literacy, learning to read energy as water and to ride it as a surfer. Water looks weak because it yields, yet it sculpts canyons. Its secret is neither crash nor quit. It flows and caresses. It seeks the line of least resistance and applies soft, relentless contact until granite remembers it is sand. That is the alchemical strategy writ into nature. The ego's hammer tries to smash the problem straight on and tires itself into cynicism. Water asks a wiser question. Where is the seam? What is the stress line, the contradiction, the tiny opening in this block of impossible? Then it surrounds, it enters, it dissolves from within. No drama, no headlines, just inevitability. Hermetically, this is polarity and rhythm in action. The swimmer and the surfer aren't on different planets. They are 2 degrees on the same scale. Force against force versus force channeled. Rhythm says tides turn, winds shift, pressure rises and falls. You can shout at the storm or you can time your move between gusts. When you align with a cycle, your effort is multiplied by the cycle's momentum. When you oppose it, you burn fuel to stand still. Now shift the lens from water to wind and wood. The proud oak spreads its chest to the gale and refuses to bow. It wins the pose and loses the trunk. The bamboo bends so far its leaves kiss the earth, then it springs back alive. This is the principle of gender, not biology, but 2 modes of power: the masculine, projection, structure, aim, and the feminine, reception, flexibility, yield. Wu Wei is not the erasure of strength. It is the marriage of these modes. You keep your spine, aim, values, direction, and you let your joints be free. Adaptation, listening, curvature. Rigidity breaks. Collapse dissolves. Supple integrity endures. How do you practice this without turning it into a poster on your wall? Start with water methods. When a problem feels like a monolith, stop attacking the face. Walk its edges. Ask, where is the part already loose? What conversation is easiest to start? Which assumption is wobbling? Go there first. Apply gentle, consistent pressure, 10 minutes a day, 1 email, 1 honest question, until the seam widens. Small doesn't mean timid. It means surgical. Water never wastes a swing. Then add surfer timing. Don't rush the set and don't miss it staring at your board. 3 steps: observe, position, commit. Observe until you feel the pattern, people's breath, the market's pulse, your own nervous system. Position yourself where opportunity will pass, in the room, in the thread, in the calendar block you protect. When the shoulder lifts, tone softens, door cracks, intuition snaps into focus. Commit once cleanly. 1 call, not 10. 1 prototype, not a bloated project. 1 boundary, not a manifesto. If it's a wave, that's enough. If it isn't, you saved your legs for the next one. Layer in bamboo drills for the body because your body is your transmitter. Practice soft spine, heavy feet. crown tall, shoulders easy, jaw unhooked, feet rooted. You are telling your system, I yield without collapsing. I stand without bracing. This posture changes meetings before the first word. It changes how your email reads. It changes which thoughts your brain serves you because it trusts you to handle them without panic. Notice how all three metaphors, water, surfer, bamboo, share one ethic, strategic softness. Not softness that avoids truth, but softness that makes truth possible. You stop shouting at the wall and you start listening for the hinge. You stop proving your strength and you start placing your strength where it multiplies. You stop demanding that life be straight, and you learn to curve just enough to pass through narrow places intact. The inner translation is simple. Water says, find the seam. The surfer says, trust the set. The bamboo says, keep your core. Let your edges breathe. Together they turn effortless from fantasy into method. Observe until you recognize pattern. Align until your state is coherent. Act once with leverage. Then let the process coagulate without your fingers digging up the seed. And yes, there will be days you misread the swell or bend too late. That is not evidence against the method. It is feedback for finer tuning. The ocean keeps teaching. The wind keeps testing. The river keeps pointing out where stone is pretending to be stone. Your job is not to be perfect. It is to become fluent. If this landed in your body the way good truth does, quiet, obvious, usable, leave one word that seals the practice we just named. Comment, water. Let it be your reminder to look for seams, ride sets, and bend without breaking. If you could see the currents that move your days, you wouldn't keep flooring the accelerator into a brick wall. You would watch the signals. Flow is not a mystery when you learn to read it. It is a language with three colors. Think of any moment as a road. Green when reality hums in tune with your state, red when friction spikes, yellow when the field is in transition. Most people miss these lights because they barrel through life eyes on the dashboard of their fears. Mastery begins when you lift your gaze and let the world tell you what it's ready to do with you and what it isn't. Yet, green is unmistakable once you know its feel. Emails answer themselves, doors open without knocking, conversations land with ease, timing feels almost scripted. Green doesn't mean no effort. It means the least effort suddenly carries the most weight because inner coherence and outer conditions are consonant. Your task is simple. Accelerate cleanly. Deliver the call, ship the draft, make the ask, show up fully. Resist the impulse to doubt a gift. You earned this ease by tuning ahead of time. Now ride it without apology. Red is just as clear. Tension in your jaw, a meeting that keeps rescheduling, resistance blooming in others, a project that gathers glitches like lint. Most people answer red with more gas. Emails multiply, tone hardens, willpower spikes, and they convert a warning into a wreck. Red is not a cosmic no. It is a not like this. Treat it as a teacher. Step off the physical plane of effects and return to the causal plane with the sage's pause. 3 slow breaths, a walk around the block, a night of sleep, a page of unfiltered truth. In that pause, you ask the only useful question. What in me is broadcasting dissonance with what I say I want? Fear of being seen, a scarcity story, a hidden resentment. Name it, acknowledge it, transmute it. When your inner weather shifts, red often softens to yellow without you moving a piece on the board. Yellow is the subtlest and the most disrespected. It is the liminal zone where possibilities wobble. The reply is warm but non-committal. The idea sparks but lacks a form. Your energy is present but not yet focused. Yellow is not the time to force a decision nor to take a nap. It is the time to distill. You refine the question, tighten the scope, prototype the smallest version. Ask the one clarifying thing that will flip the light, green or red, so you can either accelerate or recalibrate. Think of yellow as antechamber and lab. You don't live there. You use it to prepare reality to say something clear. The engine under this GPS is the sage's pause. It is not indecision. It is leadership over your nervous system. The pause interrupts the ancient reflex to fight, flee, or fawn. It lowers the volume on the ego's commentator and returns authority to the part of you that can choose. Physiologically, the pause expands your prefrontal bandwidth. Spiritually, it moves you from the audience back to the director's chair. From there, you don't ask, how do I overpower this? You ask, where is the leverage? That question births righteous action, not morally righteous, but precisely placed. It is the single movement with the highest return. A sentence that resets a meeting's tone. A boundary stated once without heat, a landing page instead of a 40-page plan, a 10-minute demo instead of a 6-month build. Righteous action feels small to the ego because it isn't dramatic. It feels huge to reality because it lands on the hinge. You will know you found it when your body relaxes as you commit. Spine tall, breath steady, mind quiet enough to hear the click of alignment. After that, the temptation returns. Control. You will want to dig up the seed to check the roots. Don't. This is where most magic is quietly undone. Enter the last skill, letting go. Letting go is not apathy. It is active trust. You continue the few simple behaviors that support germination, follow-ups on sane cadences. Care for your state, space in your calendar for the right call to land, while refraining from the acid of doubt, the poison of hurry, the itch to meddle. In alchemical terms, you already dissolved, saw the pattern, you already separated, found the hinge. Now you coagulate, allow the new form to set. Coagulation cannot be micromanaged. It must be guarded. Put it together as a cadence you can carry anywhere. Read the light. Pause to regain the causal seat. Deliver the smallest sufficient action. Release the grip so it can set. If the light stays red, you didn't fail. You found a mismatch. Go inside, retune, and try a different hinge. If it turns green, don't hesitate. Hesitation is how green decays into yellow, then red. If it sits yellow, refine the question until reality answers in a color you can respect. This is how effortless stops being a slogan. You are not withdrawing from life. You are collaborating with it. The road was never random. You were driving with your eyes closed. Now the lights are visible. Now your timing is humane. Now the day wastes less of you because you waste less of the day. No forcing, no drifting, just a clear instrument, a steady wheel, and a willingness to let the world meet you where you truly are. When you can live this loop, you don't need to move faster. You need only move cleaner. Read your journey again with gentler eyes. Much of what you called failure was simply the friction of playing the right note on the wrong station. The hours you spent pushing weren't proof you were weak. They were proof you were misaligned. The shift here isn't a creed to memorize. It's a cadence to live. Attune first, then act. When state leads and action follows, effort doesn't vanish, it changes jobs. It stops wrestling outcomes and starts maintaining alignment. Let water, surfer, and bamboo stay with you as living tools. Water says, find the seam, stop smashing the wall, and look for the line of least resistance. The surfer says, trust the set, observe, position, commit once. Bamboo says, keep your spine and let your edges breathe, firm core, flexible response. Together they form an ethic of strategic softness. Not softness that avoids truth, but softness that makes truth possible. From there, reality becomes legible. Green means move cleanly. Red means retune. Yellow means refine the question until it turns. Run the simple loop that underpins mastery. Sages pause to step off the conveyor belt of reactivity and back onto the causal plane. Righteous action, the smallest sufficient move on the hinge. Letting go, active trust that allows what you planted to set. It's humane mechanics, not mysticism for mysticism's sake. Calmer biology sees better. Quieter hearts hear better. Try it in a launch, in a conflict, in love. You'll feel it first in your body. Jaw soft, breath deep, shoulders low. Then see it in outcomes that arrive cleaner and cost less of you. Keep watch over the three gatekeepers that pull you backward. The velvet lie of false passivity, waiting that hides. The glitter of impatience, trying to force the flow. And the maze of analysis, thinking in circles instead of tuning and moving. When they appear, don't debate, retune. Return to the dials no one taught you to respect. Breath, posture, language, attention. These aren't small things. They are the controls of the transmitter that calls your future into the room. Above all, anchor the identity shift that makes the rest inevitable. You are not the rock resisting the current. You are the current, the river that finds a way, curves around obstacles and smooths edges with time and truth. From here, life stops happening to you and begins moving through you. Opportunities aren't prey to chase, they're currents to feel and follow. Obstacles aren't enemies to break, they're shapes your water learns to navigate. If this resonates and you want to keep practicing this cadence with me, deeper, simpler, steadier, subscribe now. Treat it not as a routine click, but as a clear agreement with yourself. Less forcing, more attuning. Less noise, more note. Thank you for being here. Take good care of your state, and I'll see you soon.